Hi, welcome to Diamond Delight Edibles. My name is Liz, if this is the first time you're stopping by. And for the rest of you guys, welcome back and thank you so much for your support. You guys are truly, truly awesome. So, as I promised for November, I was going to bring us holiday recipes for baking. And so, what would the holidays be but without gingerbread? So, today I'm going to show you how to make these cute, adorable gingerbread people. Or you can just make regular cookies, totally up to you. But I'm going to show you how to make gingerbread cookies. Now, this recipe cannot be used for gingerbread houses. Gingerbread houses is a far stronger and more stable type gingerbread. I am going to do a gingerbread house to bring that recipe to you as well. So this is different. You can't make gingerbread houses. All right, so saying that, I'm going to jump into the ingredients, what we need to make these guys, and we'll get these puppies baked. All right, so for our gingerbread cookies or gingerbread people, whatever it is that you'd like to make, the ingredients for this are 2.5 cups of sugar. Now you may need an additional half a cup, so keep a little extra on hand, but basically about 2.5 cups is what we should need. And we're going to go with a 1/4 cup of Cannabutter and 3 tablespoons of shortening. Now shortening will make your cookies softer, so they're not going to be as hard and crunchy. They're going to be a little bit softer and nicer cookie to chew. If you don't have shortening or you don't want to use it, you can absolutely just use some regular butter, or 3 tablespoons of regular butter. Totally up to you, but I recommend going with the shortening. You're going to want 1 egg at room temperature. 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. Now it can be light or dark, and again that's up to you. I prefer the light. There's enough molasses in it, but if you like that more real rich taste of that cookie, then go with the dark brown sugar. You're going to want a 1/2 cup of molasses, blackstrap molasses. I know there's a bunch of different kinds, so blackstrap molasses. For our spices, we're going to use 2 tablespoons of ginger, 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of clove, ground clove, a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. We're going to need a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and a teaspoon of vanilla. So that's what we're going to need for the cookie recipe. Then for the royal icing, you're going to want about 1.5 to 2 cups of powdered sugar sifted, a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar, and 2 to 3 egg whites. And they need to be, you can use the liquid egg whites in the carton, or the regular normal eggs, or the dehydrated egg whites you can use, and you can also use meringue powder. Totally up to you. Basically all works exactly the same for this. All right, so let's jump into our equipment and let's make some ginger cookies. All right, so for our equipment, you're going to need a hand or a stand mixer, obviously the bowl that goes with it. You're going to need all 3 attachments, your whisk, your paddle, and your dough hook. You're going to need a whisk, an extra bowl, a rolling pin, yes, that's what these are called, and some saran wrap or plastic wrap. And if you're doing multiple colors of your royal icing, just have some disposable bags. Just makes life easier. Or if you know how to make up those easy ones out of parchment paper, I don't. Someone needs to teach me. Anyway, the number that you're going to need for the colors, your baking sheet lined with parchment paper, or those baking sheets work awesome, and a cooling rack. And that's it for our basic main equipment. As always, I'm probably sure I forgot 1 or 2 things. But anyway, let's jump right in and let's get these cookies made. All right, so the first thing we want to do is to put all of our spices into our flour and mix that up thoroughly so that our spices are all evenly distributed through the flour and you're not getting any hunk of one particular spice, because that's never a nice taste. So I'm just going to throw them all in here. And I'm just going to whisk that together until they're all well mixed. And you can tell because you're going to have a uniform kind of color there. It's not going to look patchy or anything. It'll all kind of have that brown, slightly brown look, and even. You don't want to see any kind of white patches. And make sure to go right from the bottom. Okay, that looks good. All right, so the very first thing we want to do is to, as always, cream our egg and butter and our egg, butter, and sugar. I'm going to plop in my butter and my shortening. And then what I did is I just put this on the stove there, on the stove, just to heat it up a little bit, just so it's partially melted. It helps with the shortening because your shortening's a little bit stiffer than your butter. And in goes our sugar and our egg. On goes paddle attachment, and we're just going to blend that together on medium until it's all well whipped together and it's nice and fluffy-ish. About 2 minutes. And don't forget to scrape down your sides a couple of times through. Alright, so you're just going to blend that until it is nice and smooth and looks nice and fluffs up a bit there. Nice and light. Next is going to go in our baking powder, our vanilla, and I'm going to mix those two together. Oh, we can also add in the salt. And again, scrape down your sides. Looks so good, smells awesome. All right, next is going to go in our molasses. And we're going to blend that till mix that up until the molasses are all well blended in. Oh, it's beginning to look like gingerbread. And again, don't forget to scrape down your sides. All right, once we've got all that nicely blended, in is going to go in our flour. And we're also going to switch out our paddle now for our dough hook. And in goes my flour. So I'm adding the 2.5 cups all at first, and if I need more, then I'll add the additional 1/2 cup, or kind of what we need. So I'm just putting that on low or medium low, or sorry, we're going to put that on low and let that bring all the dough together. And again, just plop down your sides. So with the dough hook, it's nice because you can work down the sides without having to stop it every time. Just be careful though, keep your spatula right to the side. Now if the dough is a little bit dry, let's see if it's coming together. It's a little bit dry. You can drizzle in about a tablespoon or so of molasses. So I'm just going to drizzle in a little bit more, kind of all over the dough, but not too much. You just want to get a little bit all over here. Now if you find that it's still a little too dry after you've added that bit more molasses, you can add 1 to 2 tablespoons of melted butter. And that should help finally bring it together. So again, it's not a real pliable dough, but it has to stick together. So it's a fine line. Nice, much nicer. All right, so now that it's coming together a lot better, we're going to take it out. We're just going to knead it a little bit so to get it formed into a nice ball here. And then we're going to wrap it up and put it into the fridge for 4 hours or overnight. So see, oops. See how it is dry, but it is sticking together. It's that kind of fine line. All right, so you're just going to knead your dough for a couple of minutes, like I said, till it's nice and it all just comes together in a nice ball. And once you finish kneading your dough, you can just cut it in half. Just form her into a ball, and then we're just going to roll it out a little bit into a disc and wrap them up really securely with saran wrap. And the reason for putting them into the disc is it makes it easier, they cool quicker when they're nice and even, a little flatter, and it makes it easier for us to roll once they're cooled. So you're just going to roll that out into about a 1-inch disc. And get your saran wrap. And I usually do about 2 or 3 sheets around and make sure that they're airtight. So I do that with both of my balls of dough. And instead, I'm going to put those into the fridge for 4 hours. We're going to make up our royal icing, and then we'll be able to roll out our cookies and get them baked up. All right, so for our royal icing, we're going to add our 2 to 3 egg whites. Now, a couple of things. It's very important if you crack your eggs to make sure that there is absolutely no yolk in it. If you get any yolk whatsoever, they will not fluff up. So you need to start again. With the with your equipment, your bowl also has to be completely clean. There cannot be even a trace of grease or fat in it. Otherwise, your egg whites, again, will not fluff up. Any protein will cause them to fail. So if you're finding that they're not fluffing up, that's likely the reason. We're going to add in a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar or 2 teaspoons of pure lemon juice. And there you go. I'm going to attach our whisk attachment, or the whippy thing as I like to call it. And we're going to beat these on high until they come to a soft peak. So you're going to whip it just to about this texture. If I can get this off. Soft peaks. So you just fold it up and they just kind of very soft. Once you've got it like that, we're going to add in our powdered sugar. So as I said, I'm adding in 2 cups to start. We may need another 1/2 cup to a cup, depending for the texture. With royal icing, it's not 100% exact always. So I'm just going to blend that together on low. And again, make sure to scrape down the sides of your bowl. Okay, now to check your texture, you take your spoon or a knife and you cut through your icing. And if that you want it to not completely fill in, so if it starts to fill in really quickly, it's too runny, and we want to make it a bit thicker. You want to make sure that it doesn't fill in, or if it does fill in, it's at about 15 seconds or longer. That'll be a good piping icing. Right now we've got a good flood icing, what I've got right now. So I'm going to add in about another 1/2 cup of powdered sugar to start here. Now it's too thick. See, it's such a pain, this stuff, I'm not going to lie. It's a very fine line between your flood and what you want for your piping. So I'm just going to add in a couple of spoons of water here to loosen that up a bit. So again, you want to just do it very slowly, 1 to 2 teaspoons at a time. Otherwise, you're going to be playing the sugar water game for a really long time. I'm just adding in a teaspoon first. See how that's going to go. Alright, so it's still really thick, so I'm going to add in about 2 more teaspoons. So I'm just going to keep doing that until I get that right texture. I'm just going to scrape down my sides. That's looking a lot better. So it's still a little too thick for piping, so about 1 more teaspoon, I think, of water should take care of that for us. So that's just a little too thick. That looks a lot better. Let me just check that. Yep, that's perfect. Perfect texture there. So you want it to so that it flows a little bit. It's sticky, but it still flows. It doesn't just hang in midair. So that's a good texture for piping. So I'm just going to split this up. I'm just going to do simple one, just white ones with a little block for the eyes. Other than that, you can get fancy. You can make a couple of colors if you like. I'll see how industrious I feel, but I think I'm going to keep it simple. Alright, so I'm just going to split this off in a couple bowls here. And I don't need that much for the block, so I'm just doing a little bit for the block, and the rest I'm just going to keep white. I think I'll do a little bit red. Do some red for some buttons. Now, the easy way for piping, for if you got bags, is get a tall glass that it'll fit over, like so. Just really helps with not making a mess. Once you got it in, scoot it down. Give her a nice twist. What I usually do is I usually use twist ties. So I just use any twist ties that I've got on hand. Just makes life easier. Now my black color. Way more black than I wanted, but oh well. The nice thing with royal icing, to store it, to keep it, you just put plastic wrap over, but make sure that the plastic wrap is actually sitting on the actual icing. So you place it right down, have it sit right on the icing. That protects it from drying out and developing a skin on the top. And since it's holiday time, I'm sure you'll get to use it up. So just before you get ready to roll out your cookies, you want to make sure to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Alright, so now it's time to roll out our dough. And we want to roll it out to 1/4 inch thick. Now, for those of you who are not good at rolling, like myself, there's these awesome rolling pins. They've got these discs on them that allow you to go to the exact size that you want there. So I've got the 1/4 inch disc on there, and which will allow me to roll this out to a perfect 1/4 inch all over. So I'm just going to roll out my dough. And it's always good to go from the center and push out. And I'm just going to get my little gingerbread cutter, and you just cut out your cookies. So you just cut away the excess dough. And we just pop that little puppy out and put her on the cookie sheet. And then with the excess dough, just put it back together, re-roll it out again to 1/4 inch, and continue cutting out your shapes until you use up all your dough. And then you start working on your second disc, or if your pan is full, bake that up first, and then work on your second one. You're going to bake them at 350 for about 10 minutes, or until you can just push down on them and they stay or they bounce back. But it doesn't stay as an indent, then you know that they're done. Now, if you are finding it is a little bit sticky on your spatula or your working surface, you can just sprinkle a little bit of flour, and that will help with that, and put it on your knife as well. I just dip my knife in it. Like so. So I'm going to just finish rolling that out, and we'll get these puppies baked up. Yeah, so the flour makes all the difference in the world there. So definitely put a light sprinkling of flour on your work surface, and that'll avoid some stickiness for you. Now they can just pop right out. Much easier. All right, so I'm just going to pop these into my preheated oven for about 10 minutes. If your cookies are a bit smaller, if you're just making cookies like a ginger snap type thing, then it'll be about 7 minutes. But if you're doing a regular type gingerbread size or a larger size cookie, that'll be about 10 minutes. All right, so our cookies are done. Look how awesome they look. Ah! So you're going to leave them on the rack, on the cookie sheet for 5 minutes. Then you will transfer them to a cooling rack to allow them to completely cool before you start decorating. You cannot decorate on a warm cookie. All right, so now it's time to decorate. I'm just going to change the camera angle down so you can see the decorating closer. All right, so for my first one, I'm just going to do a very simple one, just white with the black for the eyes. So you're just going to cut a little bit off of the end. Just cut the tip. You want to keep it small, but so that enough comes out. That's good. So just going to make some eyes. So for piping, what you do is you hold it at the top of the bag, and this down here is just for guiding. You don't do any pressure. Then you just apply an even pressure as your icing comes out, and then you release your pressure when you're done. But again, you don't push, you don't add any pressure with your second hand. It's just a guide. And there you go. You just have just a simple, this is for a simple design. There you go. And oh, I wanted to add the black for the eyes. Just gives it a little bit more. They don't look so blind. I'm just going to try and get a little dot right in the center. Like so. I'm just tapping that down so the black kind of blends into it a little bit. And there you have it. See how much cuter he looks with the black for the eyes? So now I'm going to do one with red. Do his eyes first. Make those ones a little bit bigger. And there with the red, just adds a little bit more fun to it. So again, if you're really good at decorating, giddy up. You can decorate as fancy as you want, but if you're not a great decorator, you can keep it really simple and still looks like a great gingerbread man. Well, there you go, kind of 3 different ways. Whoops! Oh, that was almost epic. There you have it. So you got 3 different ways. So that is my little demonstration for you on gingerbread cookies. I hope you enjoyed that. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to put them down below. Love hearing from you guys. And yeah, lots more videos to come in the future, so definitely stay tuned. If you're not subscribed, I hope you do. So take care. You have an awesome rest of your day. Thanks again for watching.